Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Break at the Charles Leclerc. Break at the Apex podcast. We are back after a very long summer break, and I want to sing the Italian national anthem until I fall asleep every night after the Sunday. And before we get into everything, BT, Graham, welcome back after the summer break. Well, let's not let grass grow under our feet. Let's get straight into it. And obviously, this is the first topic I'm going to talk about. So, for all the fellow Ferrari fans like myself and BT, this is the part of the podcast that you're going to love. For all the Red Bull and McLaren fans like Graham, you might click off, but please don't because we're still going to talk about them. So, gents, that was probably, in my opinion, one of Leclerc's best drives in his career. And he pulled wool over everyone's eyes with that one stop. Ferrari just did an amazing job, but Leclerc, whose tires were older than Sainz's and Sainz had more problems. I mean, Charles Leclerc, he honestly is the king of Monza after this weekend. BT, your opinion, my fellow Ferrari brother.
Um, yeah, I'm with Graham in terms of we always give him grief about certain performances and is he a future world champion or is he talented enough? And I think but the main concern about him is that his consistency. I think that that's something he needs to work on and hopefully near future it becomes better. Another thing is his awareness during the race. I think he lacks his awareness during the race or taking certain opportunities. So I don't know in this race, did he give the call the one stop or did Ferrari tell him about it? We'll never know. Maybe you guys know that, but other than that, he drove a fantastic race. He was able to nurse his tires very well, which is quite surprising. And I think he actually wanted it.
Yeah.
He actually wanted it, and he's a Ferrari driver, but I also think he's a Ferrari fanboy as well. He
Oh,
loves the brand, he loves the team, he wants to
Of
be
course.
there, and I think he wants to finish his career there. To be honest with you, he just wants to drive for one
Yeah.
team. So I think that also motivates him as well to have those type of performances as well because he knows how far those performances will take him and how far it would take the team as well, especially the Tifosis as well. Just for them to have something to celebrate during this year. We know Leclerc's not going to win a championship. Constructions, it's debatable. I mean, McLaren is still the best car in the paddock, but they Ferrari should take a chance as well.
mm.
Yeah.
You know, actually, BT, on your point, I don't think it was either Leclerc or the team's decision when they decided to go for the one stop. I think the fact what you said, the fact that Charles wanted this win so bad. I think when they knew on the same strategy as McLaren, they're not beating them. The only choice they had when McLaren boxed, especially Piastri, was just to throw the kitchen sink at it, risk it the chocolate biscuit, and it paid off. I mean, I can remember watching the race and Sainz pitting. What was it? 5 laps later than Leclerc with the original first set of pit stops.
Yeah.
It was very apparent that Sainz was definitely going for that one-stop strategy. He was going to try it. And I can remember thinking to myself, because I was literally watching this at work, and I can remember thinking to myself, Sainz can win this. If Sainz pulls off a one stop here, and because after his pit stop, all the other guys were extremely fast, setting purple sectors every time anyone strapped on a new set of the top 8. Sainz was just making sure he stayed ahead of Hamilton. He didn't push. And it was like, okay, no, Carlos can win this. And then at the second phase of pit stops commenced, McLaren boxed Piastri. And in my head, I was like, okay, it's very clear the tire deg is very high, but I, I don't think Ferrari are going to keep Leclerc out, and yet they did. And to come back to my point, I think it was a combined choice between driver and team because that was the only way they were winning that Grand Prix. The Ferrari looked a lot better this weekend than it did in previous race weekends, but it's still missing that edge on the McLaren. And this was the only way that they knew that they had a chance to win, and they took it, and it paid off. And honestly, between Leclerc's class and talent, this is going to be one of Ferrari's like top 5 victories for the next 10 years to come, because it was just that good of a gamble that paid off, in my opinion. Yeah, the thing is, I mean, even Sainz on the radio said, well, I guess we're going for the one stop. We don't know how it's going to end, but let's go for it. I mean, I can't reiterate the exact radio, but they broadcasted it, and Sainz was just, let's try it. We've got nothing to lose now. And Sainz didn't finish far behind Lando when they came across the line. Sainz was in contention for the podium. He just had no tires left to defend with.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah,
yeah. Go ahead.
No.
I mean, my camera keeps freezing.
What do you say, Graham?
My camera keeps freezing.
Yeah, we can see that.
Guys, I'm gonna take my stuff and go and sit in my parents' place. Just give me a second that I can get that side.
Okay, no problem.
So, Sainz, right?
Mm-hmm.
Did he really have a chance, though?
On the original, the way things seemed, because like I said, I think it looked very apparent that Leclerc was going to follow what the McLarens were doing a two-stop. So before Ferrari made that call, after the McLarens already made their second pit stop, everybody was under the impression that Charles was going to box as well, and then Sainz would have been the only one of the leading cars on the one stop. That is
yes.
you know what, Sainz, it's not a Sainz can win this. And then the Ferrari decided literally after the McLaren's pitted that, you know what, we're going to keep Charles out as well. And also talking about Carlos Sainz, kudos to Sainz, because I think there would have been a big difference in the gap between Piastri and Leclerc if Piastri wasn't stuck behind Sainz for a lap and a half. That back marker that gave Sainz DRS was a big factor in Leclerc winning this race. And Sainz was just as much part of this victory than Leclerc. Like Graham said, it wasn't a Leclerc victory. This was a Ferrari victory. And Sainz played his part so beautifully this weekend. It was just utter class from Ferrari. Like I will never stop talking about this victory. I'm going to tell this story to my little kids one day when I'm old and gray.
Yeah, I mean, for a change, bro, like, it's good to see them not make any mistakes, because that's quite rare.
Yes.
Like, to be honest, it's like they know they should not make mistakes in that particular race. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So it's just the awareness they just showed was brilliant, bro. And I think McLaren took the two stop because they knew that they were fast in the Ferraris. I think I think they actually thought about it that way. Like, look, we're faster than them, so let's do the two stop. And as you said, they were going through their tires very very quickly than Ferrari. I don't know why that was happening. Like their dig was ridiculous for this race.
Yes. Yeah. Another thing, I also think, and we're going to get to this topic, but I think one of the reasons the McLaren's dig was so high, Piastri had to consistently like push to stay ahead of Leclerc and Norris. So basically, because Piastri had to push so hard to stay ahead of both Leclerc and Norris, because the Ferraris weren't like seconds a lap slower. They were still keeping pace with McLaren. They just didn't have enough to get ahead of them. And then also with Norris also being a threat constantly pushing to get to Piastri, I think they went all in, pushed as hard as they could for most of the race to make sure that they stayed ahead. And that is what it forced them onto the two stop. And I think Ferrari very quickly realized, let's just gamble this, stick within DRS as long as we can, and don't work the tires. Let's see what happens. And the opportunity opened itself, and they took it, and it worked out again brilliantly. So, I think if the McLarens were on the same, like if they had the same mentality as Ferrari when when Norris and Piastri were driving. Because as far as I'm concerned, the McLaren has been the best car on its tires the whole season. I think
Exactly.
if McLaren were
Exactly.
able to run to do what Ferrari did and not put so much stress through those tires, they could also have pulled up off the one stop and probably easier than Ferrari did. But they were forced into a position of pushing when Piastri took the lead of that race. And even though that was probably the move of the season, um, that is literally that move at the second chicane is exactly what cost McLaren this Grand.
Yeah, apparently, like Norris wasn't happy about that move though from Piastri.
You could see it in the post-race interviews. Like you could see it so clearly. And Norris didn't say it like directly, but he was very subtly, referring to the fact that, he didn't really expect Piastri to go for it. And the next thing he knew, Piastri was alongside him and then ahead of him. And I we're going to get to this topic now, but I really want Graham's inputs on this. But McLaren's, and this is one of my bold statements for the podcast, McLaren's lack of team orders is what's going to cost them this championship. And as far as I'm concerned,
Yeah.
the drivers' championship, the constructors, I think McLaren are going to win it. But when it comes to the drivers' championship, Max has already won it because McLaren can't choose between their two drivers when one driver is clearly the one to back. And that is why Verstappen is still going to win this world championship in the reference to the drivers.
And the thing is now is that like I was watching Zach Brown's post race interview, and he kept on saying our drivers are both number ones, and I'm like, why are you saying this? Why are you trying to make everyone happy if there's a championship in stake here? Maybe two.
Yes.
Maybe two championships in stake. And you're trying to bring peace. I'm not saying peace is a wrong thing, but you're trying to bring peace in a situation where you guys can win. Like, I don't understand that. Or maybe you should actually actually go watch the season of Hamilton versus Rosberg, the 2016 season, where
Yep.
how Mercedes managed that situation.
Yeah, because another podcast that I watched that referenced this is not the first time McLaren have done this. If you go back to 2007, Alonso and Hamilton, they did the exact same thing they're doing now. And Hamilton and Alonso tied on points, and Raikkonen won the championship by 1 point in the final race of the season. And right now, even though they are not leading, they have the fastest car by a reasonable stretch. Every single racetrack we go to now, because the McLaren works at every circuit, that's clear as day. Every race we go to is McLaren's to lose. And because they can't make a good choice, they're losing it. And another thing for me that someone mentioned online that was so apparent to me is even if, and this is not fact, but this is something that's very realistic. Even if Piastri is the faster driver between the two of them,
Yeah.
which they are equal, isn't a faster one. They are very equal as far as I'm concerned. But even if Piastri was leaps and bounds faster than Lando Norris, look at your championship standings. Piastri, even after this weekend, is more than 40 points behind Lando Norris.
Bro.
And I can tell you now, if Red Bull were in this situation and Max and Perez's roles were swapped, Red Bull would tell Max in situations like, okay, we're no longer going to win. Charles is clearly going to win. Let's just swap the two McLarens and let Norris get that extra 3 points. The fact that they've got a driver that's clearly ahead of the other one and they are still not prioritizing that driver is costing them dearly. Yes, the season has still got 8 races to go, but 8 races are going to come and go very quickly.
Yes,
it feels
bro.
like yesterday it was Bahrain. We are 3/4 of the way through the year, and the constructors, I feel, if McLaren don't keep messing up and Ferrari have some sort of miracle, McLaren have got the constructors banked. But the drivers, the one that every single team wants even more than the constructors, they are fumbling because they want to keep everyone happy. And in a sport like Formula One that everybody knows and references towards as a cutthroat sport, you can't do this. You
You
can't
can't.
do this.
You can't. And it's so annoying because it's like I can hear the commentators because I was watching. So what I was doing yesterday, I was watching F1 TV because I
Hmm.
was at my mom's place, so I brought my laptop with me. So I was watching F1 TV on my laptop, but I was watching the Super Sport covering as well, and they were both saying the same thing. Like, why is McLaren playing the safe game? Why are they not just attacking for the championship? Why are they trying to make the season and the team like it's a kumbaya situation? They're the fastest team. They should do decisions that will benefit them the most, and they're not doing
Yes.
that.
And another thing, let's just be honest. What is gonna hurt Piastri's resume to say, okay, you're no longer going to win. Oscar, you did a brilliant race. Ferrari outclassed us. Okay, please fall back to P3 so Norris can get the points. There's a There's two championships at stake here. How is that going to hurt Oscar Piastri? It's not. He is doing so fabulously in his only his
Second
second
season,
season.
bro. Second season.
It's not going to hurt either McLaren or Piastri to just tell him, you know what, Oscar, you did brilliantly. We're gonna get this back to you, we promise. But please, Lando needs the points. Please swap. We're not going to catch Charles. What is so hard about that?
Do you know
So yeah, Graham, sorry. While you were
what I was
busy
saying?
showing us, giving us a tour of your beautiful new home, please, your your insights on this.
Sorry about that, guys. I will probably have blocked that out, or probably have turned off my camera in the edit. But yeah, I was having some internet issues there on that side. So first of all, I want to just cover on Ferrari because I missed the end of the conversation.
Go for it.
And the most important thing I wanted to note there was I was busy talking about how that was a Ferrari win and not a Leclerc win. But I also would like to also say that although Sainz did quite well himself, he wasn't exactly there for the win. But the point is that Ferrari had to win this one.
Yes, they
To
had to.
They had to win this one. To Not because it's their home race, but because they needed to insert themselves into the fight to say we are still here.
Yeah.
And
Oh yes.
I said this to BT during the week, or maybe both of you. I can't remember if it was in the group or if it was private, but I'd said to you guys in the week that, or on the weekend, that it's almost like Ferrari have been under the radar because they're just so close in the points, but yet we always complain about them and we never actually see that they're doing well. But what they're doing correctly is that they, bar maybe two races, every other race they've been fifth, fourth, fifth, sixth. You know what I
An
mean?
odd podium.
And the odd podium, and whilst everybody is taking points off of each other, Lando and Max and Oscar and Lewis and George, they're all taking points off each other. Ferrari are just there and they're just racking up those points. And I think that that's quite crucial for the title fight because what happens at the end of the season is that that's going to count for the most part. So I think Ferrari are onto something here. And although we know Ferrari as a team that isn't the best at developing throughout the year, but if you think about it this year, it's not like they've really gone completely backwards. It's that other teams have gone forward and they haven't exactly leaped either, but they haven't really gone backwards. I mean, if you think about a team that's going backwards, you can think about Red Bull. Let's be honest. And it's
Aston Martin.
and Aston
Aston
Martin.
Martin.
And it's not that Red Bull is going backwards either. It's just that they are struggling to find a way to optimize whatever their package is. Max is the only saving grace in that team, and quite frankly, I will be highly impressed if Red Bull won the constructors. I would be. I just don't see it happening. I would be extremely impressed. Personally, I don't think Max winning the championship is going to be a surprise. But in terms of the constructors, I'd be impressed if Red Bull can hold on to it. But let's move on to McLaren. You guys were talking about McLaren now, and
Sorry, put a pin in that quickly because there's something
sure.
that me and BT mentioned, and for the viewers, apologies for the repeat, but I really want Graham's insights on this. I mentioned to BT while you were busy giving us the beautiful tour of your house. By the way, the Ferrari boys kept the podcast going. You don't have to worry about that. We've got you like Charles had Monza. Uh,
Yep.
um, okay, so one thing I really want your insights on this. So, like you said, it wasn't a Leclerc victory; it was a Ferrari victory. And I told BT one thing that really played a very important role for me is that lap and a half that Piastri was stuck behind Sainz when he kept getting DRS from back markers. First of all, I think even though Sainz wasn't with Leclerc, he played such a massive role this weekend. He's the one that actually opened their eyes to the one-stop possibility. Let's be 100% honest. And more than that, when it just to add on, Ferrari, like we've said a bunch of times on this podcast, that we give them a lot of slander. And a lot of times it was very much justified, especially when they couldn't do a basic pit stop like Sauber. Um, Another thing is, like you said, all these teams are taking points off each other. And Leclerc and Sainz have constantly just like been there. But where the other teams have leaped, like you said, they've just been progressively slowly getting there. And this weekend, I don't know if you guys actually heard it, but they mentioned it on the F1 pre and post race show. Ferrari brought 8 upgrades to that car this weekend, and all of a sudden they're there. And anybody who says Ferrari is out of this constructors fight, you are being blind. If you look at the constructors now, McLaren are 6 points behind Red Bull in the
Yeah.
constructors. Ferrari is just 40. Drivers' Championship, 40 points is a hell of a lot. Constructors, that is not far.
Yeah, especially when you're handicapped because one guy doesn't know how to drive.
Well,
So,
the team doesn't know which driver to prioritize.
Oh, that guy.
Just
no,
so
I'm talking about Red Bull, but moving on to McLaren. I did hear you guys, by the way. I heard you the whole way through. For some reason, the sound was perfect. Even when I was downstairs in that room, the sound was perfect. But for some reason, my camera kept on freezing. Anyways, I agree with what you guys said, and it was one of the points that I was going to make as well. Is that if this team don't start dominate, like if they don't start pointing out their number one driver, they're going to have big problems. Because the reality is, every championship is won with a number one driver. That's how you win championships. You need one guy to help the other guy, and let it go from there. Because the only time it works is when you have a Max Verstappen, Vettel, a Lewis Hamilton driver in a car that is just dominant. I mean, think about Vettel's dominance over Weber. Think about Max over Perez, and you think about and you think about Mercedes, Lewis over everybody, pretty much in the Mercedes team, right? And you got to think about it like this: like the reality is, there was always a defined, known number one driver in that team. And Mark Webber could fight it all he liked. Vettel was the number one driver in that team. Rosberg could have fought all he wants. Hamilton was the number one driver in that team. Perez can fight all he wants. Max is the number one driver in that team. And the reality is that's how you win championships. The second driver needs to be there as a support role to make sure that when something goes wrong, they're picking up the pieces. They need to make sure that they're maximizing the point system, the points. Personally, going back to Red Bull, Christian Horner is going to regret keeping Perez now, because now Red Bull need 2 drivers that are pushing. Because if you think Max is still putting that car in places it shouldn't be, if you consider how that car is at the moment, right? Perez is just nowhere there. It's just nowhere. So the reality, I mean, dude, like Max was struggling and Perez was not there.
Like, my question for you guys is, how many races now until McLaren understand that they need to focus on another player now? This is not the first race that they've bolted up, basically. Probably the third race or the third potential win. So how many races are they going to finally wake up and be like, holy, like we need to finish this off. We might not get this opportunity again.
Honestly, I already think it's too late. I already think it's too late. Not in the sense of Piastri knows now it's equal ground. In the sense of there's not enough time left now unless Max's car explodes. Like Graham just said, Max always puts that car in the best possible position it can be. He outperforms that car race week after race week after race week. That is just Max Verstappen's, like, that's part of his ID number. He outperforms the Red Bull F1 car. And even if Norris wins every race, the last 8 races for the rest of the season, if Max is on the podium or even in the top four, Lando's still not catching him
Yeah.
because McLaren already sacrificed too many points to Piastri. I personally think if Max doesn't finish like P5 and lower for every single race from now on, and Lando wins the last 8, there's no way that Lando is beating Max.
Before you go, Graham, it goes to that point. Remember that race where Piastri won? They had to swap. It goes back to that race now. Because if they started with initiating those rules in that race, they were going to win this race. But they were just going to tell Piastri, no, please do not try things on Norris. He's going to win this race. He's going to get the maximum points, and we move on. If they'd done that in that previous race, we wouldn't have been talking about a Leclerc win now, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Thank you, McLaren. But
yeah. Personally, I think, like, look, okay, first of all, let's not take away from Piastri. Let's not take away from the Lighty. I mean,
no, not at all.
First of all, the balls. It's not like it's not like it was a DRS on the straight. That was a ballsy move, and that's against your teammate for first position. That's crazy. Okay.
Yeah.
But what I will say is, Piastri's got a lot to learn, and that's fine. It's his second year. I'm okay with that. Lando has been around for a long time, but I don't think that Lando did anything wrong. I think he got caught off guard, and that pushed him back a little bit. Okay. I do think that the team will need to rein in on Piastri. Piastri's a racer. He wants to win. Okay. He wants to win. He's quick. He's good. 100%. Love that. But the reason why I said they're going to have to rein in on Piastri is because if you think about it, it was Piastri's fault that both McLarens actually lost position. Well, it was his fault that Lando lost position, and then when the strategy play came, it wasn't exactly Piastri's fault that he lost position. But what had happened is that it could have been a 1-2, but it ended up being a 2-3. And even if Piastri stayed first, it would have been a 1-3, not a 1-2. So I think the reality there is that they're going to have to rein in on Piastri as well to say, listen, kid, we get it. You want to fight. You want to show that you can take it. That's great. But there's also a team play here. And by all means, if you guys are 10 seconds ahead, go for it. Fight each other out. Do your thing. But when Ferrari is literally a second behind you, you hold position, and you go.
Yeah.
Because I mean, the reality is, like, it was unnecessary. It was a ballsy move. It was amazing. It was beautiful. But for the team, it was unnecessary. But I honestly think that the team, Norris is the team's wife and Piastri's the mistress.
Oh, yes, that's such a good analogy. I love that.
It is because they want Norris to be the guy, right? And they say, oh, Norris is the guy. But the moment they're racing and Piastri's got a chance, all of a sudden there's no number one driver, and they can do their thing, right? It's kind of like, what are you guys trying to do here? You know, if you want to win a championship, let's do it properly. And then the other thing as well that bothers me is, I feel like Zach is trying to compensate for the toxic nonsense he's caused in what's the series?
Oh, in Drive to Survive.
In Indy.
Oh no! Sorry.
I think he's trying to compensate for that, because over there he couldn't care less about the drivers, right? Like, I mean, he says he does, but like, he's like Christian Horner, man. He just gets rid of them quick. Like no problems. Like guys are doing okay. No, they need to go. Look, I'm not gonna get into that. I don't mind it too much when drivers are not performing like they should, and they get sacked. I don't have a problem with that. What I have a problem with is that you can be cutthroat there, but in F1 you want to give everybody a chance. F1 is the pinnacle, mate. If you've got a chance to win the race. You could be winning the world. I mean, maybe it's because he knows they got such a good car, they'll win the championship. But with Ferrari so close behind, I wouldn't be so sure.
Yeah.
Graham, again, to the viewers, apologies because I'm going to mention this again, but I told BT, and I'm not blaming Piastri. I know it's going to sound like it, but I'm not blaming the kid because, like Graham said, he's a racer. He wants to win. Every single driver on that grid wants to win. That's why they're there. They didn't start go-karting at 7, 8 years old to not win when they get to the pinnacle of motorsport. But Piastri cost McLaren that race because Charles got into P2 after he really, I wouldn't say held Max back, but after the move he made, Max didn't carry any momentum through that second chicane, and that gave Leclerc the chance. The fact, and another podcast mentioned this so well, the fact that Leclerc was the meat in the McLaren sandwich is what completely destroyed their strategy. And I said this to BT, the reason Ferrari could make their tires last on a car that we know is worse on its tires. The McLaren has been the car the whole season long that has been the best on its tire. It's even beaten the Red Bulls when it comes to tire depth. And because Piastri constantly had to push to keep Leclerc behind him and Norris chasing also from behind because obviously he wanted that win, and Norris needing to push so hard to keep up with them, they just went through their tires while Ferrari were chilling in the DRS being like, all good, let's put the least amount of stress through these tires because there is a possible one stop here. And when the opportunity opened up, boom, Ferrari win at Monza. And again, I'm not blaming Piastri. In my personal view, I commend the kid for that move. That was nothing but brilliance when it comes to pure on-track racing. But he cost McLaren. There's no other way you can look at it, unfortunately. He cost McLaren that one too.
Yeah, but the end of the day is that there's someone who will need to take the blame at the end of the season. Us three, we all know who it will be. It will be the team. Or it will be Zach Brown for not winning. Maybe in scenario case, they don't win the championship and Ferrari wins the championship.
Oh, I would love that. Sorry.
Who's getting blamed? Senior management.
McLaren. Oh, yeah, senior management.
They can't blame Piastri, can't blame Norris. They're going to blame the bosses, especially Zach Brown, because he didn't take charge at a time where he had to take charge, unfortunately. And I'm sorry for repeating this as well. I said to Dirk while Graham was giving us a tour of his beautiful house.
I started something now.
Zach Brown should actually go watch the 2016 Formula One season where Rosberg and Hamilton were acting crazy. And that he just needs to watch how Toto handled that situation.
Yeah, because as the season got to the end, yes, there was still very much a lot of toxicity between Nico and Lewis, but Toto made them understand from as soon as they realized. I think after that accident they had in Austria at the Red Bull Ring, after that Toto made it very clear that I'm not scared to really put my foot down in certain scenarios. Don't take each other out. If there's a bigger picture than just you two individually.
And McLaren has fancy words. Yeah, please race papaya. What is that?
Papaya rules.
What is that? That was, look, it sounds funky when you say it, but when you think of the bigger picture, it's actually, again, meant with no disrespect, but it actually sounds stupid. I'm sorry.
Even Rosberg was interviewing Zach Brown after the race, and he kept on asking, like, what is that? And Zach Brown's like, no, it's for them to race each other with respect and neatly. I could see Rosberg was very confused because he's like, dude, you have a chance to win a championship here. What are you guys doing?
Yeah.
Yeah. To be honest, the being a McLaren fan, it's very frustrating. But at the same time, what I am excited about is that they are still picking. I mean, we complain about them every week because every week they do some stupid strategy call or something dumb.
Graham, how does it feel to be in the shoes that Ferrari once were in? How does it feel?
But let's be honest though, right? Let's be honest. We complain, but they're still picking up 1 and 3 and 1 and 4 and 2 and 3 and 2 and 4. The reality is they're still winning this championship. Like, unless they make really big mistakes and Ferrari pick up, they are still going to win this championship. We got to also remember one thing. Ferrari, Monza's a hunting ground for Ferrari. I mean, it's their home race. They've got a good car for it. Come next weekend, Ferrari aren't going to, no disrespect. Come next weekend, Ferrari are not going to be.
I so highly disagree with you, but I'll get into it now.
No, but continue. I'm just saying, wait, what is the next race, by the way?
The next two, Azerbaijan and Baku, and then Singapore. 2 Ferrari Mechas.
Maybe, yeah, but I mean, what I'm trying to say is that McLaren is the only car that will work on every track.
Yeah, that's true.
Come next race or the race after, I don't see Ferrari dominating McLaren, if that makes sense. So all I'm trying to say is that for Ferrari, it's still very track specific, and for McLaren, it isn't. Okay, so we have to also remember that between now and the end of the year, McLaren are definitely still favorites to win this championship.
No, absolutely. No. I said the same to Pete. I said there's no way Ferrari win this constructors without McLaren having a massive mess up at a few Grand Prix. I'm not saying Ferrari now, even though I'm the Ferrari hype train boy. You guys thought Matt Gallagher was a Ferrari fanboy. You've not met me. But I'm not saying that Ferrari's winning the constructors now. It's not at all what I'm saying. The thing that I'm trying to get to is that Ferrari can't be excluded from the constructors' fight. And with all due respect, with McLaren's recent, I would say, 8 race track record, where they, not just Hungary and now Monza, there's a few races where McLaren were the shoo-ins to win, and they bottled something strategy-wise. Ferrari are in the comparison now where if McLaren mess up, they are there to take the points.
Yeah.
And I mean, the gap between Red Bull, McLaren, and Ferrari are so close right now. If Ferrari for the next 8 races just outscore McLaren every time by 5 or 6 points in the constructors, come Abu Dhabi, it's a fight between Ferrari and McLaren. That's what I'm trying to get to. I'm not saying McLaren are going to. If they don't mess up, they're winning the constructors. But also, Christian Horner himself said this. The thing that everybody remembers is the driver's champion. Nobody cares who wins the constructors championship. Yes, it's a nice thing to have, and yes, the team rolls in money, but nobody sees the TikTok of Zach Brown shirtless rolling in a tub of money. Everybody sees the driver that took the world championship. Nobody, 2021 is a reference. Mercedes won the constructors, but nobody cares because Max dethroned Lewis. Nobody cares that Mercedes won the constructors, and that is the problem here. Yes, McLaren are going to win the constructors, big whoop. Max is still going to win the drivers, and he's going to be seen as the driver that defended, I want to say, from the horde. Ferrari, Mercedes, McLaren, all these exceptional drivers in a car that was utter crap by the end of the season. But guess what? Max won. Yeah, McLaren won the constructors. Who cares? Max won. That's what we're trying to get to. And McLaren are bottling this badly.
But I got to admit, Dirk, and I feel like it popped up in your head because I feel like it's something you want to see. Like, I think seeing Zach Brown shirtless rolling in some crashes.
Dear Lord, no. I will scoop out my eyes with a blunt spoon. I know I'm getting a bit dramatic here now, but it's a very valid point.
It's the pure definition of chubby money. Just saying. Okay, but listen. Okay, guys, so I get your. Okay.
I'm not making a Zach Brown Mr. D order. Just so that everybody knows, Mr. D, I'm not making a Zach Brown Mr. D order. Okay, good. Let's continue.
But okay, so that's it. That's an inside joke to a lot of you guys. But
Yeah.
yeah. Anyways, again,
Meeting is dying.
I'm more of an Uber Eats guy. But okay. Um, I just wanted to say I'm a betting man. Oh, I'm not a betting man, but I mean I work in a betting company. So for me, I look at odds and I look at value and I just think like, would I put my money on Ferrari to win? I wouldn't. No, I wouldn't. Would I put my money on McLaren to win? Hell yes. Like they really have to screw up to lose here. They have to tremendously screw up. And
Yeah,
to be quite fair to them, they haven't been screwing up tremendously. They've been screwing up here and there, small little bits here. They haven't been making major mistakes that's costing the team. They have been making mistakes that are costing Lando,
Yes.
but they are not
Yes.
making mistakes that are costing the team. And maybe that is what it is. Maybe they don't care. Maybe they're only after the constructors. I mean, when last did McLaren win a constructors? 2012, 2007. So, I mean, it's a long, long time ago. So for them, I think that's probably all they care about. But it's as you say, it will happen, but nobody's going to care because no one will remember it. And
Yeah.
I think that's something that McLaren are going to have to learn over the years is that this is a new group. There isn't a lot of people from this group that are used to winning like back in the days, right? Um,
Mm.
and
All
so
the old guys that knew how to win are gone by now. They're either retired or at other teams.
exactly, and it's not about how to win. It's about how to understand what is winning. What is a win? Is a win having the constructors and saying, "Cool, we won the constructors," or is a win having a driver championship? I mean, think about sponsors. Think about the sponsors.
Mm.
What are the sponsors going to like more? The sponsors will prefer to see the driver championships. Why? Because their driver will be in the press conferences for the rest of the year after that, and they'll see all the sponsorships are on them, and they'll have all the branding on. Drivers Championship is the championship that brings in money in the long run.
Yes.
It's not constructors gives you the F1 money, but in the long run, the Drivers Championship is what gives you money because all the sponsors and all that kind of stuff. I got to say though, before we move on to the next topic or whatever, I will have to say this: McLaren, McLaren need to really chill out now. Like they've got a good car now, they need to chill because they're really starting to embarrass Red Bull now. Okay, so can they just cool down, please?
Oh no, Graham, you actually make a good point there. No, McLaren are embarrassed. They're not just embarrassing Red Bull; they're actually embarrassing that entire front four. Um, I mean, someone on social media mentioned that Ferrari built a car for Monaco and for Monza. The rest of the year, they can't care. They're just trying to get points. And when they said that, I actually laughed because if you look at the past like 10 years, those are the two tracks that you always have to take Ferrari into consideration.
Yeah,
No matter how bad they are doing, rock up to Monaco, rock up to Monza, they're there.
yeah,
But when it comes to McLaren, though, I agree. Like they really like you said, McLaren has to have a monumental mess up to lose this constructors now. I
yeah.
I just I just don't think the fact that you mentioned the drivers championship brings in money long term. I think they're failing to see the bigger picture. And
Yeah.
while you talked about that, I actually thought about it. Remember, not too long ago, McLaren were in very big financial problems. I wonder if maybe they are prioritizing the constructors because maybe they still need a lot of that money. We all know, even though the drivers' championship, when it happens, is the bragging rights, the constructors is the one with the big money, and maybe they need that big pump of money so that they actually still have a front running car next year. We will never know
Yeah.
because stuff
yeah,
like that
but
will
It's all about
public knowledge.
2026 from here.
yeah, but
Uh,
before we go as well, I know Graham mentioned they're making tiny mistakes, but you must also understand that they have a good car now. So each mistake they make, media, us as fans, we're gonna blow it up proportion because they
oh
have a
yeah,
car that can win races. If they were like Aston Martin and they were making mistakes, no one would notice.
No one
No one
would
would
no
care.
care.
one would care.
So
Nice, Graham.
yeah, so yeah, that's all.
I really couldn't care if Lance Stroll spins, or I just don't care really.
Actually, perfect transition, because besides the fact that I am Ferrari crazy right now, I am also on the please get Stroll out of F1 train heading in the opposite direction. Can I just quickly mention? So just a week ago, well, 2 weeks ago now, the two kick Saubers were the only two cars that were lapped twice at Zandvoort. Okay, they were the definition of horrible. This week at Monza,
I feel like,
your
hang on, just
wonderful.
hang on. Sorry, Dirk, but I feel like that's just the story of their year, though.
I'm not talking about Sauber. Let me get to my point. Sauber, nobody cares about Sauber in any case, just like nobody's going to care if McLaren win the constructors. Okay, back on track. So we come to Monza, a track where that actually makes the Sauber look good because there's a lot of green going on, and what that's good in practice. He pops in a P5, he pops in a P8, pops in a P7. Okay, Sauber looked decent. Come the race, 10 laps in, they're like 20 seconds behind the closest car. Lance Stroll was running with Alonso battling for points. How on God's green earth did he finish 28 seconds behind Guan Yu Zhou? He is. Sorry, I mean, Alonso was battling Albon and Magnussen for points. Alonso only slightly outqualified Stroll. Yes, the positions were far apart, but Stroll wasn't far off him in qualifying. I'll give the Canadian that. 28 seconds behind Guan Yu Zhou in an utter tractor just there for show. How bad must you be? And I actually went and checked. He never had damage. He didn't have a crappy strategy. He just drove as if he was still in Formula 3. What?
Yeah, Monza's a difficult track, young. It's quite a tough one.
I can't. This guy, I don't care how rich his dad is, he is withholding a seat that so many of these young drivers coming up through Formula 2 and Formula 3 would give a part of their body for. And he's just sitting there because his dad has money. And I'm sorry, he has an odd good performance. I will give him that. But please, dear Lord, get into another racing series where he can actually do something decent, where the drivers aren't as quick and as good. But to finish almost half a minute behind a tractor in a car that, according to practice, was half a second a lap faster. I mean, please make it make sense, because I don't think you can.
No, I can't. But I mean, again, I feel like it's the story of the year. Aston Martin had a very weird year, considering how they were last year. This year, they've just been so anonymous in so many cases. You just don't know what's going on there, which is quite sad. But I mean, whatever. It's Lance Stroll.
You can see Graham doesn't want to talk about it because Lance Stroll is Graham's little golden boy that can't get bashed on. When it comes to Sergio Perez, Graham is like, bring out the axe. But Lance Stroll, oh no, daddy's little boy, let's protect the useless one.
No, it's not about that. No, I'm done protecting him. I just think it's difficult to talk about these guys because you don't see them, so you don't know what's going on. And it's like Stroll this year has been so up and down. One day he's beating Alonso, the next day he's 28 seconds behind Zhou Guan Yu, and it's like where is he? Like, what is he doing? Like, is he good or is he not good? Because, like, I don't know. It's frustrating. It's frustrating to see, but then it's also frustrating to watch Alonso, because one day Alonso's there and then one day Alonso's not there, and then it's like, what's going on? And I think Alonso's done, man. I think he's done. I think he extended that contract, but I think he's gone. I think after that contract, he's not extending again.
Wait,
I
so is he even leaving when they just got Adrian Newey?
I
but
don't
it's
think so, Graham. Grabbing at
but
straws here, brother.
is
Nah,
Adrian Newey? Hang
he's
on, whoa, whoa,
staying
whoa,
there.
whoa. Is Adrian Newey confirmed?
Not 100%, but that's the only way it's leading to. And Adrian Newey is the only team you see him with is Aston Martin. He himself has said he's not going to Ferrari,
Or
not going to
retirement?
Alpine. Nah. I would not. If Daddy Stroll offers me a few, almost $500 million, I don't care how old I am. I
Yeah, but
don't
he
care
wouldn't
how much.
because
I
you're
don't.
just as useless as his son. So you wouldn't. I'm just joking. Sorry,
I don't care how
I'm just
good
joking.
I need. I don't care how good I need to make that window liquor look good. I don't care if you give me that amount of money. I'm coming, boy. I don't care if I wanted to go on early pension.
Yeah, I mean,
You'll see me this season.
and maybe he's gonna have total control of everything. Not everything, but building the car and all that stuff. So why not?
No, I'm not saying it's not going to happen. I'm just saying it's not confirmed yet. So it's like, you know, if it's not going to happen, I don't see Alonso staying there. If it happens, um,
This could be the first time Alonso actually legit makes the right choice. You understand?
Yeah,
could be. It could be. And we've got to
it's
also,
Alonso's last choice.
yeah, and we've got to also understand that that Aston Martin will be a works car
Yeah.
because they
Oh
will be
yeah,
they will be the Honda works car. So
Yes.
with Aston Martin Honda works car with Adrian Newey, I think that they have a great shot. But they have to consider the fact that Mercedes is always going to be good when it comes to engine regs. They finally found something when it comes to their aero, so at least they know something about ground effects and how it works. Ferrari know exactly how ground effects works. They just need to get everything working together.
you make
Red Bull,
you sound like toddlers.
hey,
Right? You just referenced Mercedes. They finally figured out how ground effects work. You make them sound like they're a bunch of toddlers trying to race Formula One. I'm
but they
sorry
are,
to stop, but
but
that was just
they,
expression. Everything was just like
yeah,
these,
but
these idiots. What are they doing?
but am I wrong though? Because they had no clue what was going on. They for over a
Oh,
year they suckled, over a year they struggled. But okay, the point is like you got to also consider like Red Bull. You think they're falling apart? They're not. They just rebuilding. They've lost a lot of staff. Remember, Mercedes also lost a lot of staff at the time to Red Bull, and those
Yeah.
staff
true.
members are with Red Bull right now, busy creating Red Bull's very first engine. Because when Red Bull decided they were going to open up their own engine train, where did they go? They went to Mercedes. So who knows? They might have the best engine in 2026. You don't know. And I was watching a podcast. I was watching that Red Flags podcast with Gunther Steiner, and Gunther Steiner asked. They asked Gunther Steiner about who, if he was a team principal, who would he have as his main guy, and he said Pierre Wache. So something about Pierre there's something about Pierre that definitely is good. But remember, he's now having to take over a philosophy from a genius like Adrian Newey.
Mm.
It's obviously
Ah,
not going to go, but if he builds the car from scratch his way, it might be a different story. The point I'm trying to make is like you can never write off Red Bull because they always find ways. I mean, let's be honest. If you can take any team since in the last decade and a half, Red Bull are the one consistent team that is always in the top 2 or 3, always. So you've got to consider you can never write them off. So the fact is that regardless of what's happening there, you can't write them off. You can't write Mercedes off. You can't write Ferrari off. So
Ferrari.
yes, yeah. So Adrian Newey goes to Aston Martin. Aston Martin have a an Adrian Newey and a works Honda car. Great, but are they going to be able to make it work? Well, that's something we're going to have to wait and see.
Yeah,
So I
only
don't know.
time will tell. Only time will
And
tell. But
Are we
yeah,
going to talk about Williams, by the way? Are we gonna talk about
I,
Williams?
no, we got to talk about Williams. I actually want
Okay.
to get into the last few topics because this podcast is getting very long.
Yes.
So actually, while you mentioned it, Graham, let's get into Williams. And there's actually only two more things after that I want to talk about. But I don't know about you guys. I expected, even though I am a hidden Sergeant fanboy, and I'm sad to see him gone, but he was useless, so it was the right choice. How are you guys feeling about Colapinto? I mean, he did the job that Logan couldn't.
What? He didn't score points. That's what Logan couldn't do. So what
He
did
was
Colapinto
he
do?
he was the whole weekend never more than 3 tenths behind Albon. Practice, qualifying. He didn't crash the car, which
But did he
Sargent did
score
on.
points though?
No, but he was damn near close to it. He was in that fight with Alonso, Magnussen, Albon. He wasn't far behind. One small
Yeah,
thing could have
but
changed, and he could have been Albon's position.
Albon scored points. So
Like,
you know,
like,
For the second time this season? It's not as if Albon has been racking up podiums. That
No,
car is still
Dirk,
pretty damn bad.
Dirk, there's a reason why Sargent got sacked.
No, I know. He was very bad.
There's a reason.
I
And
will
the
say
guy,
this.
it's only his first race, so give him grace at least.
Yeah, no, Graham,
Let's talk after
Colapinto
Singapore, maybe. Maybe we know that Williams is not going to be great in Singapore, but let's talk after Singapore about that.
Yeah. No, fair enough. I mean, I'm not trying to be harsh to be funny. I'm just saying that, you know, I just want to bring out what I want to say about Williams. Okay. I just want to know, where are all the Horner haters now? Because James Fowles sacked him pretty quickly. So when Horner did that stuff, everyone was like, yo, such a toxic guy. What's going on? This guy's so toxic, and Red Bull is so toxic, and this is so bad. How can you do that to drivers? We've been waiting for this day for this whole year. We've been saying it's going to happen. It happened. So I want to know, where are all the Horner haters now? Tell me, where are they? Please tell me, where are you Horner haters now?
The thing is, okay, I'm not gonna open this kettle of fish because I'm gonna be honest. I was a teenager, I was young, I was stupid. I was one of the Horner haters. I'll 100% confess to that.
Was?
Now,
Oh,
no,
sorry.
Ahmad, I was one of the Horner haters. I still don't like Christian Horner. I'm not baby Christian Horner like Graham here. I don't like Christian Horner. I respect him as a businessman and as a team leader. That nobody can take away from him. I just don't feel you can compare these two situations because the drivers, yes, they were very much underperforming against Max, like Perez is now. But the drivers that Horner sacked were in the positions to absolutely lose everything. And two of them managed to rebuild themselves. One of them literally lost his girlfriend to Max Verstappen and lost his career. He's driving in a different series now. The reason I would not compare the two is because the drivers that were paired with Max weren't doing nearly as bad as what Sargent did, and they weren't. And Sargent wasn't in a front-running car. He was in a car that needed to be in those last two position points fights. And Sargent was never there. Gasly, Albon, Kvyat were always still scoring good points. They were doing better than Perez is doing now. Yes, Max was beating them by 30, 40 seconds, I will agree. But they were still there when they were needed. And Christian sacked them because they weren't Max Verstappen. And that was an unfair comparison to make. He said himself in so many interviews, you're not on Max's level, you're not in my car. And you can't do that to young drivers that you literally put the world's pressure on in that time to fight Mercedes and Ferrari, which were very much the quicker cars.
If you're not on Max's level, you're not in my car. And then you go and hire Sergio Perez. Seems
You see
normal.
my point? You see my point here that
Seems fairly normal.
I know Sargent. Honestly, I was one of the people that said, give Sargent at least a second season. Maybe he found it a little bit overwhelming. But I mean, honestly, after like the first 5 races of the season, Sargent should have been sacked. I don't think Williams had someone as a backup. because all their drivers in Formula 2 were like rookie F2 drivers, and the ones that they had also coming into F3 were also rookie drivers. So they only had that F3 to F2 transition, and that's a big gamble to. Colapinto has actually, I think he's won a sprint race and a feature race and 2 sprint races so far this season. He's won 3 F3 races. He's proven that he's got something that actually deserves him giving a chance. Logan Sargent didn't have the right license points. He never won in Formula 2. He won a few in Formula 3. But, I mean, Colapinto is honestly a much better choice than Sargent, even if you're just looking at the paperwork. And it was, wait. But his first race didn't do badly for somebody who was just thrown into a pool randomly thinking he was going to race F2 this weekend. He did a good early demonstration. I'm sorry, I'm on Colapinto's side, and I can't make the comparison between Vowles and Horner. It's not the same It's not the same situation.
I'm trying to figure out how to read Dirk here, because he was on the Logan hype train.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden Logan's like, he's never won anything. So I'm trying to think, like, why did you like him then? What was he here for? What's going on?
Okay, wait. The only reason I liked Logan is, first of all, he replaced Latifi. And I would argue that he was better than Latifi. That's a conversation for another day. But either they were equally as bad, but I would give the edge to Logan. Point being is, I liked Logan because he was, any interview he was in, anything else, like you like certain drivers for Graham. I actually just liked Logan's vibe. And in the first season of his F1 career, meaning last season, people were extremely hard on him. Last season, Piastri also made a few damn big mistakes. Nobody was as hard on Piastri. It's just because Sargent was being destroyed by Albon that everybody was hammering on him. And I think I felt sorry for the kid.
Sargent was racking up the bill, bro.
I am man enough to admit that he didn't deserve anything. I am man enough to admit Sargent
was racking up the bill. A team like Williams can't afford that. It's that simple.
Yeah. That man was drinking way too much alcohol.
McLaren had financial struggles. They didn't have like extra money to spend.
All I'm going to say is you can't say he's better than Latifi, because Latifi's won a championship. Okay?
What championship?
In 2021. In 2021, Latifi won a championship for Max.
Graham.
I'm pretty sure they're still paying him for that, I'm sure.
Oh, probably, yes. They've got a lifelong debt to Latifi for that.
He gets a lifetime of Max merch.
Yeah, literally. And the tailor with Max's face on the end.
I wouldn't mind a lifetime of Max merch.
Another thing that I want to talk about that I'm actually very excited for that happened on this weekend of Monza, we finally got an announcement of who's taking Lewis's spot in Mercedes. And it's Kimi Antonelli. And Graham, I can't wait to hear your take on this, because I know how you feel about Antonelli's team.
Yeah, exactly, right? This guy crashes in F1 and then he gets the seat. Like,
bro,
can you not, like, surely, like, because that means that I would be able to, because by that theory, I can get an F1 seat, right? Because I'll go there, just crash the car in my first practice, and then they'll just give me a seat. So, I mean, like, I'm super excited, man. I think it's going to be great. I do think.
The sarcasm in that sentence. Oh, my word.
I do think that Mercedes. So here's the thing: we talk about Mercedes and Ferrari and who's gonna be that team in 2026. Now, I've said all along that I've got a feeling it's Ferrari, right? And the reason for that is because I feel like they'll find a good balance between having a good engine and good aero, and they've got the drivers. Mercedes might have the car and the aero and the engine. They're not going to have the drivers.
Yeah.
Just simple. That's it. Kimi, don't get me wrong. The kid's, maybe he's good. There's a lot of hype over him. Fine. Maybe he's great. Maybe he's a generational talent. Who cares? At this point, come on. His role model is going to be George Russell.
Okay, Graham, I won't deny you on that, okay, but I want BT's points on this. Okay, I know you guys don't watch the feature series as I do. You don't watch F2, you don't watch F3. And honestly, I know there's not always time for that. I barely have time to watch it. But
Look, I'm gonna.
Antonelli, I wouldn't say he's a Verstappen or a Piastri or anything like that. But I can't deny, and the kid is damn good. I
Oh, you're
don't. I
starting, bro.
honestly think that. No, no,
You're
no.
starting.
Hear me out. Hear me out. I'm
Uh,
not gonna jump on an Antonelli hype train like I did with the Logan hype train. I promise. Okay. I've seen the kid really like in bad positions. He's got a lot of, I want to say, Lewis features that Lewis had when he was still in those lower ranked F1 series. The kid is good. Do I think he's going to handle the pressure of being in a Mercedes? I'm going to be honest. No, he's way too young. He's not going to be able to handle that. Just like we just mentioned, Gasly, Albon, and Kvyat couldn't handle that pressure from Red Bull. I don't think Antonelli is going to handle that. I think Russell's going to smash it. And Russell, like Graham mentioned, everybody has to be honest with themselves. He's not the best role model to go into a very high pressured situation like that. But Antonelli deserves a chance. He's not a Sergeant or a Latifi that's just brought in because they don't have anyone else. The kid deserves a chance. Let's just see what he can do. Before people are too harsh on him, yes, he crashed the car in FP1, and before everybody's too harsh on him, just give the kid a chance. He is really good when he has it figured out.
I think that Mercedes is copying Red Bull strategy with Max, of course, of getting that young kid into a seat, and they're trying it out. However, during the weekend, I actually came up with the point that why didn't Mercedes try to get Albon for like 2025? I know it won't ever happen, but my thinking about this is that Mercedes could swap those two, and Antonelli could go to Williams, and Mercedes could watch him for the whole year and see how he goes about it.
Mate, my silly season could have been absolutely off the chain if my wishes came true. Dude, Carlos Sainz to Red Bull and Albon to Mercedes and Kimi to Williams
Yeah,
made so much sense.
it does actually.
It still makes so much sense. It really makes so much sense. Why was that not something? I don't know.
I don't know either, bro.
But
It was
I
never
then,
don't know
even a
either.
rumor like
yeah,
Antonelli to Williams. There was never even a rumor that went around.
well, it was, but this year, not for next year. It was to replace Logan. But I
They never
mean,
even saw the, to be honest.
if we consider the Williams situation, if they had to lose Sainz and Albon, who would drive for Williams as a lead driver? And because of Wolf's ties to Williams, that could have also been a reason why they didn't go that route. So that's a team. Williams is a team that want to try and detach themselves from Mercedes. They want to try and build a team again. They want to become a sort of like standalone team that's not attached to anybody, but that is, I've got a good idea for them. Go sign a contract with BMW. Then you'd be a works team. Great stuff. Would be great.
Yeah.
But the point is, I'm not saying Kimi's the wrong move. I just think that when we talk about 2026 and who do we think is going to be up there, I think Mercedes are going to have the car to be up there, but I don't think they're going to have the drivers to be up there. And I don't fear for them because I couldn't care less, to be honest. But what I do think is, I think that McLaren is going to be one of those teams that, even though they're a customer team, I think they're going to really push their works team further than just what's happening this year and next year. I can only imagine McLaren will continue this next year. So, I mean, Mercedes need to. Mercedes, I hope they know what they're doing. To be honest, I hope they know what they're doing. I mean,
Okay, just another quick point that I want to make. And we've mentioned this multiple times on the podcast when we've talked about the team leaders, Christian Horner, Toto Wolff, Fred Vasseur, all these guys. We've said multiple times that these guys, yes, they make mistakes, but they're not stupid. They won't be in the roles that they are in if they are stupid. Any leader of a company, no matter what the company is, if the company is flourishing, that's a good leader and they know what they do. I feel the fact that Toto Wolff and Mercedes management are willing to take this risk with Antonelli, it's worth to just see what the kid can do. Now, I do agree the smart in our view, the smarter move would have been get Albon in the Mercedes, let Antonelli prove himself at Williams. That would have been the smarter move. But I honestly think Mercedes think this kid is the next Hamilton, Verstappen, whatever you want to label him as. They believe that is what he is. And Toto has said this in public interviews, that he thinks Antonelli is the next generational talent. And if they think that he is, I mean, McLaren did it with Hamilton. He almost won the championship in his rookie season. And Red Bull did it with Verstappen, and look where Verstappen is now. If they are willing to take this risk with Antonelli, then clearly if they think the kid deserves a shot, who are we to say that he does?
Yeah,
and I'm not
but
saying that's what we're saying. I'm just referencing that
yeah.
Mercedes, 8-time consecutive constructors champions. If they think he's worth it, let's just wait and
Yeah.
see what happens.
I don't want to take another stab at George Russell here, but what I am going to say is, if you think about Max, you think about Piastri, you think about all these guys, they came into a team with somebody that was willing to help them. They came in a team with somebody that was willing to groom them. And I don't see I'm not saying that George Russell's a bad mentor because he's a bad driver. He's a great driver. But I don't think he cares about anybody other than himself. And that's the thing.
He does give all that vibe.
And so
he does give
and so that's my issue with what is happening. Mercedes has never been without a world champion. No, I don't think anybody has mentioned this. But Mercedes has never been. It was Schumacher. It was straight after Schumacher. It was Lewis, and it's been that the entire way. They have never been without a world champion, and let alone without a world champion. You know, like Max, for example. Max was with Red Bull. Okay. 2021. Okay, was Max's first championship win. Okay. Who did he have that was helping him?
Ricardo.
No, Sergio Perez.
Well, okay, yeah. Sorry, I thought you were referencing like teammates. Sorry, my mistake.
But let's go backwards. Who was there when he started? Ricardo. Who was in the Red Bull camp when he started with Red Bull? Vettel, Mark Webber. He was groomed. He's had this support structure constantly all the way through. He's had these guys all the way through, these guys that you can learn from. Sergio Perez, make no mistake, he might not be on Max's level. You might think that he's a terrible driver, but make no mistake about Sergio Perez. He's been around the block. He knows F1. He knows where to be. He knows. Max has learned from him. I'm telling you, Max has learned from him because he's been there to help, and he's good enough and has the experience enough to have helped Max to win because he knows Max is quicker and I am able to help him. Okay. Kimi is stepping into a team, for one, a team that has never been without a world champion. And that makes a big difference because, one, it will be a team that will never get the same kind of feedback that they got before.
Yeah.
Okay. He's stepping into a team with a mentor that, in my opinion, he wants to win. He wants to shine. It's his time to shine now. He wants to shine. He wants to be the main guy in the team, and it's all about him. And fair enough. That's sometimes how the greats work. Sometimes that's Formula One, and the greats are those type of people. Fair enough. We'll give it to him. But that is who he is at the moment. He's not there to mentor kids. Kimi needed time. Kimi needed time in a smaller team. He needed time to learn. He needed time to. But at the same time, hindsight's always a beautiful thing, right? In 2 years' time, we might look back at this and be like, "Oh, Dirk was right." But you know what? Like, geez, this kid is an amazing guy. You never know. We don't know what's going to happen. But I'm just saying that I'm not sold on the idea that it's a great idea, but at the same time, I also don't care. Out of all the teams that I like, Mercedes is not one of them, so I don't particularly care too much.
Look,
I mean, you can put Aston Martin and McLaren and Ferrari and Red Bull. You can put them all in one category, and Mercedes will not be there. I don't really care. But at the same time, my opinion is that I'm not particularly sold that it's a great idea.
Look,
Yeah, me too.
when it comes to team wise, I will honestly say, like, I'm in the same camp as you, Graham. Like, I don't really care what happens to Mercedes, but for me, it's more about the drivers. And I would really be sad to see, like, if what you say what you are saying happens to Antonelli. I really don't want that to happen to him, because even though it's not really something that's talked about enough, but he's thrashing Ollie Behrman, his teammate in F2 right now, who's already been signed to Haas. Besides that, another thing I mean, the comparison was made when Piastri joined F1. He joined with Nick de Vries, and everybody was hyped on Nick de Vries and was saying that Piastri is going to be the one that performed like Nick de Vries did. Nobody expected Piastri to do what he did. Everybody was like, De Vries is the one. He's the golden child. And they sacked him after half a season. He was that bad. And Piastri, the one that everybody thought was going to be that guy, was actually now and again in his rookie season taking it to Lando. And if you look at the situation, McLaren took on Piastri in the same manner that Mercedes are going to take on Antonelli now. I'm not saying Norris is a selfish guy, but Norris is in that time of his career now where he wants to win, he wants to be the guy, everything is happening. It's almost the exact same situation, just a different team.
I disagree.
Piastri, please explain.
Lando, and this is why I believe Lando will not be a world champion or multiple world champion. I believe that he can win a world champion given the car. I believe it. But the reason why I believe that Lando will never be great is because he's just too nice. He's quite okay with he's quite okay when Piastri beats him. He's okay with it. You can't be okay with that. He's not selfish enough. And that's what I'm saying. It's not a bad thing that it's not a bad thing that George Russell is selfish. It's just that it's not a good thing for the team right now when the one guy who needs to help the young guy is the selfish one.
Yeah.
In Lando's case, he's selfless. If Piastri wins, yeah, well done. I mean, he deserved it. No, dude, you're supposed to. Why he should never have cut me off in the first turn. He should have never cut me off in the first turn. You could see it on his face that he was not happy. But yet in the press, yeah, but you know what? He did well. He deserved it. He took me. You know, he took his chance. I wasn't watching. No, dude, no. He's too selfless, and that's the thing. I disagree with you because Lando is not in the phase of his life where he should be selfish. He should be selfish. He's not in the phase of his life where he is being selfish, but he should be selfish because he's now got a car to win a championship. He's now got an opportunity to win a championship. But now, if Piastri beats him, it's okay. When the team doesn't put him first, it's okay. It shouldn't be okay. He's in the title fight. He should be demanding that the team put him first. Piastri's not in a title fight. So I disagree because for me, Lando is selfless. He's not selfish. He's not selfish enough. And in that case, he's actually helping Piastri. Piastri's looking at... I love Lando. You guys know I love Lando. But I can tell you, in Piastri's mind, Lando is weak. Lando's weak.
Oh, yes.
Because Lando will easily just say, oh, he deserved it. He got me and I wasn't. Lando's weak. Piastri is going to be McLaren's number one driver in another year or two. Guaranteed.
Yeah,
He will
I support that as well.
Okay, from that aspect, I could agree with you. I didn't think about it in that aspect, but just take it back like 2 sentences. The team structure that Piastri came into, a world champion, driver that's clear team leader, according to what everybody thinks and says. Antonelli's going into the same point. I hear what you're saying about selfishness. I get it. But I think it's still a situation where if Piastri could do it, I honestly think Antonelli can do it as well.
Yeah, I mean, look at it. It also depends on the temperament of the person. I mean, Piastri. Let's be honest, the guy's colder than ice. I mean,
Oh yeah,
you can say what you. I mean, that kid he could win a race and he could crash his car, and it's the same reaction.
very true.
Sorry guys. Oh, thanks guys. That was a great race. Like he's just cold as ice, and the reality is that if Kimi has that same sort of cold as ice mentality and same nature, it could work. It could work. You never know, but the only way it works for him is if he's actually better than George Russell.
Yeah.
The only way it works is if he's better than George Russell. And the reason why I say that is because he needs to be able to be beating George Russell for me to turn around and say, you know what, if he's beating George Russell, it's going to push George to fight harder, which means Mercedes will be just fine. But if he's not beating George Russell, they're not. But okay, look, don't get me wrong. This is hypothetical. This is opinion on opinion. None of us know what's going to happen. I
Yeah.
could be completely incorrect here. So I'll give it to you in that sense. Like, there's no point in us going on and arguing about this because reality is we don't know what's going to happen. But I don't know. I do get what your point is, by the way. Like in terms of
both our points
Max,
both are from both aspects.
Max and Piastri and Mercedes are doing what Red Bull did with Max and what McLaren are doing in Piastri. I do get that point, but I do think that the times were different. I think that the situations were different, and I think Piastri and Max's situation is very different to what Kimi is going into now. But I mean, let's see, man. We got to see what happens. It's I'm excited to see what happens. To be honest, I haven't been like next year. Next year is going to be an exciting year because for one, it's going to be the last year of the regulations in which we're going to probably see a closer field again.
Yeah.
I mean, if you think about this year, we've had 7 different winners. It's been amazing. The races for some reason have been somewhat boring, but we've had 7 different winners, and it keeps it interesting to want to watch because even though some of the races are boring, it's like, okay, well, who's going to win? What's going to happen? How's this championship fight going to go? And I think next year is going to be even better like that. And I'm excited for it. And what I'm excited for is that there are so many youngsters coming in. I mean,
next year is going to be exciting as well because there's so many driver changes as well. So
exactly,
you're going to see Antonelli in the Mercedes, you're going to see Lewis Hamilton in the Ferrari. So it's going to be really interesting.
Yeah.
Look, I'm not referencing BT quickly. I'm not going to lie. I can't wait to see Lewis in red. But that first time you see that suit, it's going to feel so weird, man. We're so used to seeing him in silver or black. To see him in a red suit is just going to be like, am I awake right now? But in any case, and also, Kimi Antonelli beating Russell on Russell's current performances, it's not going to be too hard. In any case,
I reckon.
Guys,
yeah, no, it's fine. Let's leave that. Come, it's fun. Let's carry on.
No, prove your point. Then we go into the last topic.
No, I was just gonna say I reckon the red is going to put it this way. Lewis Hamilton's pigment was very flattering with a white overall. Not sure if the red is going to have the same.
And BT is just like, Graham, no.
BT, can you just humor me? I don't mean to say this rudely, but just humor me. In the next podcast, wear a red top. I just want to see how it's going to be. I don't. Okay, let's move on.
Okay. Guys, I know this has been a long podcast. It's been a long time since we talked, so I think we're enjoying it a lot just to talk a bit about F1. And the last topic that I really just want to get into, F1 management has finally did the thing that everybody has said that they wouldn't do. Kevin Magnussen has got a race ban. I never thought that they would give any driver a race ban because always a driver gets close and then by some other miracle, they don't. They still mess up, but they don't get a race ban.
Did
we
Haas
had this
appeal,
conversation.
by the way, first, before you start, did Haas appeal it?
No. They were just like, there's no, because Hulkenberg did the exact same thing and he got a penalty and Magnussen did it after Hulkenberg. So what were they supposed to do?
Yeah.
Okay. So one thing that I do want to say, look, we had this conversation after Monaco when everybody said it was Magnussen's fault, whatever. And Graham, you actually made a very good point about sidetrack in everything that we talked about, if you guys really want to go check out that episode, great episode. We really delved into a lot after Monaco. Also, by the way, don't forget to drop a like down below. It's a little bit late to ask, but if you're still here, drop a like. I think that's valid. And I don't know about you, James. I think Magnussen is the definition of kamikaze Formula One driver. But the thing that I want to get to, who do you guys think Haas are going to put in that car? Is it going to be Ollie? Or are they going to try and give maybe another F2 driver? Because they haven't released anything yet on who's going to be in Magnussen's car for this race coming up.
It's Ollie.
Surely. I mean, that's the only thing that makes sense, really.
Yeah.
Unless Fittipaldi jumps in. Because he's the Haas rep reserve.
Yes, that's the thing. Like, they've got Fittipaldi. Obviously, Ollie is getting the seat next season. So that is the legitimate answer. But if this season has proven anything throughout the grid, is that you can't go with we can't actually rely on the most obvious thing to do. We just talked about Albon, Mercedes, and the whole Antonelli thing.
Well, it would make sense. It would make sense for Ollie, but it depends. I mean, look, if Ollie was in a championship fight in F2, they'd put Fittipaldi in there, but he isn't. So they might as well just bring Ollie in. It doesn't really matter. So I think in that case, they'll just bring Ollie in because it's not like he's in a title fight or anything. If he was, they'd probably skip him and use Fittipaldi for now, but I don't see why they should just... They might as well just bring him in. There's no need to... So,
and,
but I mean...
yeah, sorry.
On.
No. I thought you... BT, I actually want your opinion on the whole, like, Magnussen being banned now. Just thoughts on it, because I mean, no matter how you look at it or how you try to defend Magnussen, he's been a bit of a naughty boy this season.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep this very short. It's good that they've just done it. Just get it out of the way. Just get out of the way. Like, yeah, dude. That's the only thing I'm gonna say, because what else could they do? Was he really going to race another 8 races without really doing anything, Magnussen? Come on now. So I was actually happy. I was like, you know what? Just do it. Just do it so he can come back and continue with his life again. That's all.
I mean, come on, guys. It's not like he's going to race again. At this point, he should just give it everything he wants. Like, if he wants to crash, if he's got any frustrations, he wants to get out, it's his time now. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Actually, even though you're saying that in a joking manner, that's actually very true. I look, the main thing for me is, and it's been a hot topic in a lot of like F1 media, is a lot of people felt like this whole 12 points on your super license and a race ban it's been something now for, I think, over a decade. And Gasly was one of the drivers that got very close. Kvyat was one of the drivers that got very close. And they should have gotten a race ban if you look at some of the performances when they were already on the racer's edge. But they just never got it. I think there was a lot of fans that believe that F1 would just never pull this plug on a driver because it, according to what a lot of people thought, it just looked bad for the sport, which I disagree with. But for me, it's just, and it's not meant disrespectfully or badly towards Magnussen, but it's actually good to see that they finally pulled the plug, and that if you mess up now, you are going to get a race ban.
Yeah.
So be yourself.
Yeah, it's basically setting an example. So unfortunately, Magnussen is the example. So these are these.
And I'm just glad they pulled the plug. Graham, do you have anything to add?
No, mate, I've got nothing to add at all.
Oh, guys, Graham wants to go night. I can see he is very tired. But okay, let's end it right. Let's end it right there. James, thank you so much.
Hang on, whoa, hang on. Are you forgetting again?
Can you let me just go with my flow? I'm not going to forget.
No, you actually forgot.
I'm tired.
I did not.
Listen, no. I'm tired. I'm not tired enough to forget about rating the race, because that's the most important part of this podcast.
If you don't interrupt me and you would let me finish my sentences, you would actually let me go into my finishing segment.
I think you're talking a bunch of nonsense. You forgot. But it's fine. Carry on.
No, I did. I've literally got my notes in front of me, and literally in capital letters, I wrote race rating. So
okay,
stop it.
Okay.
Oh,
Okay, it's fine. Go,
guys,
go. It's
please,
fine.
please just drop a like down below as a prayer towards me because I have to sit with these two always reminding me. In any case, so let's end it there with all the topics. And gents, before we say goodbye, what was your race ratings, BT?
Finally, damn.
Don't talk nonsense. No, you're talking nonsense, bro.
10, bro.
Don't
10, bro.
bull.
10,
Don't talk nonsense, bro. Come on,
10.
be realistic. I know Leclerc won, but be realistic. Come on, dude.
I'll be realistic. 10.
Dude, up until the last 3 laps, after the first 3 laps and up till the last 3 laps, that race was dead.
10.
Ah, man, you are so boring, Ryan. You are
Dude,
so
that
boring.
race was dead. It
No,
was
you
dead.
are boring. Give us your
Right.
race rating, you boring
You think
person.
about just think, first of all, can we just say quickly before we go, can we just say first of all, when last have you watched a Monza race without loads of action? I mean action. I mean proper action, like race throughout the entire race. I don't recall when last I watched the Monza race that was boring as hell.
I can recall too, at literally the last 2 years because Max dominated and there was no
No,
battling going on.
yeah,
Midfield was
but in the midfield there was definitely lots happening.
no.
Okay.
Last year's race, there were literally 4 moves throughout the entire race in the midfield that didn't include pit stops. The only moves happened was when people undercut and overcut each other.
Okay.
The midfield in the last 2 years at Monza was boring. This year was something different.
I apologize, but I don't think it was any different though. It was still boring.
Just give us your rating, bro.
No,
Yeah,
don't. You can give me your rating first. I want to know what yours is first.
It's a
Okay.
10. What do you mean?
Okay. Yeah. First of all, I'm quickly going to start why my rating is as high as it is. First of all, we had 4 cars, and for a while, Hamilton was there as well. We had 4 cars within 6 seconds, well, 5 cars within 6 seconds of each other for the first half of the race. For the first, Graham, shut up. For the first time,
No. Wait. Sorry. I had this on my mind earlier and I wanted to bring it up. I was thinking about it when I was walking. You guys were talking about Ferrari and McLaren. Think about the nostalgia of Ferrari and McLaren being rivals again. Come on, guys.
yeah,
guys,
that's going to be fantastic.
Okay, I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10 then. I'll give it an 8 out of 10 then. Just because of the rivalry. That rivalry, guys.
Okay.
That nostalgia. Okay, carry
no,
on. Dad. You can explain your 12 out of 10.
Okay. It's not that high, but in any case, 5 cars within 6 seconds of each other within probably the first half of the race until the first pit stop. So, okay, a third. Secondly, there was actually a very big threat from Ferrari. It wasn't just like a runaway thing. There was constant thing. And for the first time in more than 2 decades, we had a 2-stop. We had actually variable strategy at a race that was always a slam dunk 1-stop because the tires didn't wear at all. Okay. There was a lot of aspects to this race. And like I always say when we do this, I love the idea of strategic racing. I live for that. And the fact that in a race that was for once a slam dunk 2-stop, Ferrari pulled a blinder that nobody expected. And yes, I'm a Ferrari fanboy and I'm going to Ferrari fanboy this because that is my team. The fact that this race had so many different variables to a race that's usually either an overtake fest but doesn't result in anything, or a race that's just everybody sitting within a DRS train, racing to the, well, driving, not even racing, driving to the end. This race had variety, and I love that. For me, it's
Just
a
give us
9 out of 10.
a 9.
I would. I would approve Graham's point. There wasn't enough action to give it that edge of a 10. But the fact of how brilliant it was strategic-wise, I can't give it lower than a 9. It was freaking brilliant.
There's no ways that Monza, a BT, there's no ways that Monza was better than Silverstone. No chance. No chance. Was it Silverstone that we rated 10 out of 10?
Yeah, it was Silverstone.
Yeah, and then Canada as well was also ridiculous. But okay, anyways, it's fine. I get you guys' points. BT, I know BT is only getting a 10 out of 10 because he's a biased fanboy and extremely passionate. Realistically, realistically, I'll give it a 6. But for the sake of Leclerc, I'll give it an 8.
Wow.
Okay.
Because,
Good
yeah,
deal.
just because
8, 9, 10.
I just
Good
think
enough
that
for me.
Leclerc's luck is starting to come his way now, and it's starting to make work. And if
But
everything can work for him, I think it'll be
it's at
great.
the wrong time though, because he's getting a new teammate next year. So
Yeah, I know.
No.
But
I,
bittersweet
I
moments.
I think it's the perfect time for Lewis to take this version of Leclerc that everybody's been waiting for and just take him that another step up. Like we said when Lewis made this move at the beginning of the season, Lewis is maybe there. Yes, he's there to break Schumacher's record, but besides that, he's there to mentor Ferrari and he's there to mentor Leclerc. If he can take Leclerc to that level that everybody knows Leclerc's capable of, we have got a Verstappen killer on our hands, and I can't wait for it.
Good luck with that, pal. If you give Verstappen the car, I'm not sure anybody is killing him. But good luck.
We'll see. We will see. We shall see.
But it depends on the car that Max gets as well. You got to be on, like, you can't say he's a Max Verstappen killer if Max gets given a terrible. Anyway, let's go. Yeah.
Make a situation like 2019 and 2020. 2018 and 2019. Ferrari and Mercedes, same level. Red Bull, Ferrari, same type of level. And you've got the version of Leclerc that we just spoke about with the Lion Max. That fight. It's the stuff of dreams. But I think in that situation, Leclerc beats Max. I've said it. I'll stick my head out. That situation, Leclerc beats Max.
Okay, cool. Well, goodbye, guys. Have a good night.
Yes, guys. See you on the next podcast.